What do you do if you found out that your partner of a year and a half told their ex's brother that you're not the one? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, I, 41-year-old female, told my husband, 38-year-old male, this morning that he has to stop drinking. Not take a break, not cut back, stop. We have 2 very young children, and stress levels are high. The youngest isn't sleeping hardly at all right now. Last night, my husband came into our bedroom while I was trying to settle our infant and started screaming at me and repeatedly shouting, "Freak you," at me because I had the nerve to ask him to not slam the bathroom door minutes earlier. I apologized to him that I'd raised my voice when I told him not to slam the door. He just went off on a tangent after tangent about how I make his life miserable and I've been mean to him for the last 2 years and how dare I take the high road right then, etc., etc. I flat out said, "You're drunk," and he got more and more heated. He said he'd only had 3 drinks. I told him to leave the room, go center himself, go calm down, go whatever. He slept in an extra 2 hours this morning after I was up with the baby all night. The first time we spoke this morning, I said, "I'm not going to beat around the bush. You have to stop drinking." He just said, "Okay," and I walked away. I sincerely hope this is the start of a new chapter in our lives. I mean, if they have a dependency, I certainly hope that they're going to be able to turn things around. But depending on how bad it is, even if OP feels like they're staying right on top of him, it might be hard to just get results right off the bat like that. I definitely wish for the best for OP. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy tricky relationship topics, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is marriage falling apart. I, 28-year-old female, have been with my husband, 37-year-old male, for 8 years, married 2. I'm almost 9 months pregnant with our second. My husband has always watched adult entertainment. And for the most part, I didn't care and didn't think it was bad for the average person. I knew what kind of stuff he was watching and it was pretty normal. I will say I've never had a high sex drive. He was my first, so I have nothing to compare anything to. I would be fine with hooking up once a week, while he would be happy with it at least every other day. But sometimes days in a row, or even more than once a day sometimes. He obviously took this very personal when I wasn't as eager as him. When we did hook up, it was very normal, and he would finish in a reasonable amount of time. Well, when I was pregnant with our first in 2021, he started to talk about me hooking up with another man while we would be hooking up. At first, I didn't know how to respond, so I would go against it in the moment, maybe thinking it was a trap, like he wanted to see if I went along with it and would get upset. I had no desire to be with anyone else, but maybe thought he was feeling insecure a bit. But as the months went by, he basically said it was his fantasy, so he wanted me to play along. It's not really my thing, and it made me a bit uncomfortable, but whatever. I went along with it when he would occasionally bring it up. I started to notice he was watching that specific kind of adult entertainment. I think when our toddler was a young infant, he brought up that he actually wanted me to hook up with another man, and he wanted to watch. I have no desire for that at all. He claimed many times it would be good for our relationship, and it would make us stronger and would make him love me more. He's tried pressuring me so many times to do it, and has implied I'll eventually give in and will like it. Basically, over the past year, he's tried to convince me to make adult entertainment and upload it. Has downloaded an app to find a man to come over and hook up with me. Meanwhile, these are strangers, and our infant son is sleeping in our room. The fact he would be okay with bringing a strange man into our home like that is insane to me and terrifies me. It's like his desire for this goes beyond his otherwise desire to protect me and our son. So eventually he agrees that we would just use someone we know in person, so it's safe. He suggested his coworker/friend from work. I do not find this person attractive in the least. I mean, even if I did, I still wouldn't agree. Eventually he started having me use a toy and have him in me at the same time, which is very uncomfortable and unpleasant for me. But I know he now watches entertainment where 2 men are doing that at the same time. When I was early in this pregnancy, he brought up having someone come over, but as the pregnancy has progressed, he hasn't suggested it. But I know it's just a matter of time, and once I give birth, he's going to pressure me again. At this point, it's very hard for me to do anything, but he expects me to initiate every time. do all the work, which consists of me doing a lot of work, which is hard for me at this point. He quickly loses interest now, so I have to constantly be changing positions, doing different things, etc., to not only try to get things going again, but to finish. Meanwhile, he's watching entertainment the entire time and not focusing on me, not doing anything with me, just staring at the screen. You can also feel his bad mood the entire time. He says I just do the same things and it's boring. It's so cold and lifeless now. It's all about me making him finish and pleasing him and has nothing to do with him hooking up with his wife. He makes no effort to make it pleasurable for me at all. It's getting more common for me to try for 45 plus minutes. He won't finish and he'll just get mad, give up, and walk away. Then he's in a bad mood until I eventually do make him finish. We have a toddler, as I said, so we really only have the option to be together at night when he's asleep. So the whole next day he's cold to me and gives me the silent treatment because he's in a bad mood. I do love him, and I'm scared that it's just a matter of time before we break up. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and the thought of being away from my kids makes me sick. I am always with my son. I don't want my family to break up. I imagine growing old with my husband. The real issue is I know he sees nothing wrong with this. I feel like adult entertainment has literally rotted his brain. To have someone stimulating you while watching it for 45 plus minutes and you still can't finish is not normal. But he blames me. Part of me does blame myself in that if I had a higher drive for all those years, he wouldn't want to watch it as much and he wouldn't eventually get to the point of watching what he is watching. I don't know what to do. I feel like ever since I got pregnant with our first, our relationship has gone downhill. I'm terrified and have cried so much over this. I'm also scared that if we do break up, he'll be bringing people over to hook up while our son's there. So, I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. The guy is very clearly very addicted, and it's gotten to the point where it's actually ruining any intimacy between OP and their partner. If you're seeking a solution, it would obviously be seeking some kind of help, learning how to curb his behavior, stepping him down from how dependent he is on this. I don't think stopping anybody's addiction to anything is necessarily going to be easy, but you'd be surprised how immediate things can turn around in a relationship when you start making breakthroughs on stopping this kind of addiction. Our next story is, my 28-year-old male girlfriend, 22, claims that I didn't show up for her like the rest of her friends did for her. Last week, my girlfriend's grandma died. She had to make an emergency trip, and I texted her to make sure she got home safe. Over the weekend, we talked on the phone once and texted here and there a couple times. I let her know that I'm a phone call away or a text because I didn't want to suffocate her with texts. I know she was grieving, and I wanted to give her space to grieve, but still show her I was there for her. A couple years ago, her dad died, and we talked about how her friends abandoned her, and I was trying my best to not have the same thing happen. She got back in town today and didn't tell me, and when I told her I was worried about her, she said, "Really?" I couldn't tell, because we didn't talk at all over the weekend. I told her that I was giving her space but still showing that I was there for her. When she went home, she told me she was focusing on her family, and I respected that. Girlfriend saying that I didn't show up for her because I didn't contact her enough. And now she said she isn't sure about us because I made her feel ignored and abandoned. She's going back home on Thursday for the funeral. I talked to her today and she said she doesn't want me to ignore her, but doesn't know where we stand. She said she can't make a decision right now until their emotions come back in check. I love her so much and thought about reaching out more, but I didn't want to suffocate her. And I tried to respect that she wanted family time. Is there anything I can do? P.S. I really feel like I dropped the ball here, but I thought I was doing the right thing and feel really bad. I mean, I don't know how receptive they're actually going to be to it, but I would tell her that you were trying your best and that maybe you did go about it in just a little bit of a wrong way. That instead of saying that you were only a phone call away or a text away, you should have asked her exactly what can I do for you? That if you had known, you would have done whatever was necessary. And that next time, because you care, you're going to ask them directly, what do they need from you and what can you do for them? Hopefully they would understand that it's coming from a very caring place. Our next story is, I, 17-year-old female, found out why my brother, 20-year-old male, and father, 40-year-old male, don't speak to my mom, 40-year-old female, and I'm extremely conflicted about everything. My parents are divorced and have not been in contact with each other since I was about 5. Since then, me and my brother lived with my dad, and our mom moved away to her native country. I've known vaguely that it has to do with cheating, but no one ever told me details and I never pushed too much because it seemed like people got upset when I asked. Plus, I'm not really that close to my mom or her side of the family either, so I couldn't ask her. Recently, my brother came home from college and we got into a minor argument about some other family stuff, and he started telling me about what our mom did and what all actually happened. My dad cheated on my mom multiple times when I was a baby. Then he also cheated with a coworker who had been my mom's friend as well, and they'd taken videos of themselves together, so now she had proof. My mom discovered those videos, confronted my dad, and then invited the coworker friend to their house when he was gone. My mom then proceeded to beat and torture that woman for hours in our house. My brother was 7 or 8 at the time, saw everything. He told me it was sadistic, brutal, and psychotic. The woman left literally bleeding and limping out of the house, promised to never do it again, and my mom also threatened to spread the video to their company and her family if she ever returned. I don't remember where I was at the time or why I can't remember this incident. I was either sleeping or possibly at my aunt's house. My brother doesn't remember either. He also told me the woman was 19 years old, almost the same age as me. I feel extremely upset learning all this. I don't really know how to feel. I've always known my mom was not a nice person, and I've also known my dad was a habitual cheater. He had admitted that to us before. I guess I always wanted to believe that she left because she was hurt by my dad's actions. And my dad let her because he felt guilty, but now I'm realizing that she basically fled the US and agreed to the divorce so she wouldn't be charged with a serious offense for hurting that woman so badly. In the end, my dad was granted full custody. She left for her country and rarely contacts us at all. It all makes sense now, but now what? I'm just like, what? My dad shouldn't have cheated, so obviously like that, and I think that if my mom really hurt that other woman so badly, she should have been arrested in the US and charged for it. But that woman was probably too scared to do anything, and maybe my dad convinced her to lay low? Maybe my mom just didn't care anymore and wanted to start over. Did she feel any remorse or guilt? Did she even miss us? How can you straight up torture another person like that even if you're furious? My brother said it was for hours, not just a fist fight or something. His opinion of our mother is extremely low and wants nothing to do with her. I guess he wanted to convince me that she's a horrible person and I should have no sympathy for her. I do agree, she's horrible, but I just feel more confused and sad and conflicted, to be honest. I haven't talked to my dad about this and don't know if I should. I don't know what to do at all, actually. I feel kind of depressed and numb in a way. Like, how is this reality? What kind of person is my mom? Do I have those genes too? To hurt someone like that? And how is that other woman doing? Is she okay? Is it okay for me to even wonder that? She did do something wrong too, but also she was like almost my age. Does that matter? So is my dad the bad guy or the good guy here? So many weird questions. I don't even know what I'm asking here, but I guess I just need some support or other perspectives. What do I do with this new information about my family? Just let it go? Talk to someone? Who? So, I mean, if what went down supposedly is the truth, let's be real. Cheating on your partner, horrendous thing to do. Is it worth banishing them from your lives? Probably not. But somebody who's willing to entrap and torture somebody for hours on end for cheating? Probably worthy of having some distance. If OP's really struggling with processing all of this, therapy would probably be a good thing. Personally, and this is not professional advice by any means, but if I were in OP's shoes, if there is reason to believe what the brother said, I don't think I'd be feeling too bad about her not being in my life. Our next story is potential husband, 27-year-old male, is a virgin. I, 26-year-old female, am not. I told him this, and he needs space. I, 26-year-old female, am Muslim. I met this guy, 27-year-old male, 2 years ago, and he's Muslim too. We started talking to each other seriously about marriage 7 months ago. We haven't done anything other than talk about prospects, but I really like him. For context, I was a lot less religious in undergrad, and I lost my virginity to a man I was dating at the time. We broke up, I became more religious, and I've abstained since. I honestly do regret my choices, but the past is the past. We were discussing our pasts yesterday when the concept of virginity came up. I told him the truth, and he suddenly got really quiet. He told me that he was a virgin and he was expecting to marry one too. I tried telling him that I repented and said that it wasn't a problem of me being impure or a sinner. He said that it was just his insecurities that were making him question whether or not he could marry me. He said that I was perfect in every other way, but he wasn't sure if he could get over his own insecurities. He then said that he needed some time to think it over. I'm not sure what to say or if I should just accept I freaked up and move on. I really like him and I'm having serious mental issues. I've been crying non-stop since then and I hate myself for my past. Is there any way to fix this? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, his behavior feels like a real red flag and makes me kind of uncomfortable. It just seems very immature. I don't have great knowledge of people who follow religion strictly, but I feel like once you get to 27 years old, 26 years old, hardcore religious or not, I feel like you're going to have a hard time finding somebody who hasn't at least done something. Personally, I think this guy needs to just grow up and move past it and learn to cope with it. Because if they do genuinely feel like OP is perfect in every way except that they had a partner in the past, and they let it slide because of that, they are fumbling the bag incredibly. Like I said, once you get to 26 years old, almost everybody has a past. Our next story is, I think my 25-year-old female sister, 33-year-old female, is getting scammed into a citizenship marriage. I don't know what to do. My sister, 33-year-old female, is dating a 25-year-old male. He doesn't speak English and my sister doesn't speak Spanish. They've been dating for a year, about 8 months of it in secret. My sister didn't say why she kept it secret, she just wasn't sure. I've only met him once. I'm very close with my sister. My mom and her side of the family immigrated from Mexico legally when she was a teen. They're all citizens. Well, my sister's boyfriend is an illegal immigrant. She said that he treats her like a queen and spoils her and loves her like she's never been loved before, but he's also very jealous. She was on the phone with me once and he got really mad at her and assumed she was talking to another guy. My sister's excuse for this is that's just how he's machismo. My sister just got out of an incredibly abusive relationship with her ex-boyfriend of 8 years. She also had a kid with him. She lives with my sister for a while and then moved into her boyfriend's after only dating for like 6 months. He really pushed her into it, so now she lives in a room with him. Fast forward to today, he apparently proposed to her on the 5th of August. He then planned the whole wedding the day after and quickly ran it by my sister and said he really wanted to get married on his birthday, the 29th. My sister wanted my grandparents to be at their wedding before they died, so she said yes. They got sick and now can't attend. They tried to postpone, but I guess the boyfriend got offended that she wanted to postpone the wedding. She doesn't want to tell anyone besides my mom and I about the wedding. Not even my other sister who disapproves of this boyfriend. My mom spent the month trying to convince my sister to postpone at least 6 months to wait this out. They'd apparently paid $4,000 for a deposit for a law office to marry them. That's now non-refundable, another reason they can't cancel. I asked my sister, why a law office? The courthouse is free for the most part, or a family member ordained is free too. She said that they didn't know any better and he asked a friend for advice who was in a similar situation. I don't know what to do. This all feels so shady to me. Also, I didn't find out until today, the day before the wedding. What the freak? And he didn't even give me or my mom the correct time for the ceremony, just the time and address for the reception. My mom wanted to see my sister in person a few days ago, and my sister said she was sick, and the boyfriend then texted my mom saying she can't make it. Weird and a little manipulative in my eyes. I mean, I don't really want to make assumptions here, but I feel like everybody who heard this post knows at least exactly what OP's kind of angling towards without actually mentioning it. I mean, illegal immigrant, pushing very, very hard for the wedding. It makes you start feeling very concerned, very heavily about whether or not this guy truly cares about her as deeply as he seems to. I mean, is it just all a big chase for the green card? Honestly, maybe the most concerning thing is just how easily the sister allowed it to get to this point so quickly. Our next story is, my partner, 19-year-old female, came out as non-binary, 19-year-old male, and I don't know how to feel. So I've been seeing this person for around 2 months now. We've met up loads, dates, the whole lot. We were essentially unofficially dating and both have feelings for the other. Only reason I held back on asking was due to a past experience they had with their ex. We were having a deep conversation about stuff in the relationship and said there was more I needed to know and said she's gender fluid. I don't really understand the entire thing, so she explained, but my understanding is they identify as male, female, and basically everything in between. But during this heavily emotional conversation, they basically said that there isn't really a way I can date a gender fluid person and be classed as necessarily straight, which I am. I like the person a lot, and there were a few bumps before this conversation, but I'm really hurt I've only been told now instead of towards the start of meeting up, or even getting more serious, and I'm in desperate need for advice if anyone has been through similar situations. I mean, to be fair, if things start getting a little serious, you kind of would hope that the discussion about gender identities would happen by then. Honestly, I think it's a reasonable thing to expect to know from somebody that you're entering a relationship with. I think the real issue more than anything here is not anything to do with them being gender fluid or non-binary. It's the fact that they're trying to tell you what your identity is. Honestly, I think there's a lot of layers and perspectives you can really look at this and try to argue this from. Honestly, more than the labels, more than whether or not OP can consider themselves straight if they continue with this relationship, which honestly, I feel like OP can still be straight and be in this relationship. I think this is just maybe going to cause a lot of arguments considering the partner's behavior. The fact that they said to OP's face, "You're not straight. You can't be." Is that going to fundamentally be resolvable? How do you placate such a strong stance? This next story is, should I, 27-year-old male, break up with my girlfriend, 27-year-old female? Hello all, I'm wrestling quite a difficult decision here as to whether or not I should break up with my girlfriend. While I think she is a fantastic person, I've come to a realization that this relationship feels like I'm more or less living with a good friend. We're never really intimate, and sexual intimacy is incredibly rare for one, and I don't really feel the sexual attraction or chemistry anymore. She is fun to hang around with, and there are some things we can enjoy together, but I feel we don't necessarily share the same visions, values, and goals. I'm also not an ambition person, and I'm usually very busy. Whether this is work and trying to make more money, keeping my fitness and martial arts training in check, trying to eat well or cooking healthy meals or even just keep the place in order. This is not an attack on her, but she's quite happy to settle, and at times I really don't feel like get much from her. I do all the cooking, work full time, and basically pay for everything in addition to the other bits I mentioned. She's worked part-time for a very long time, and while I don't mind supporting someone, I feel this isn't reciprocated very well. She often wakes up late without having done anything, can't be bothered to feed herself properly despite the fact that a lot of food has been cooked, I remind her, leaves a lot of house chores for me to sort, and is very disorganized with aspects of her own life. She often has her own parents babying her to remind her to do basic things, which a grown woman should not require telling. For example, she'll soon need to drive, but is showing no effort in trying to sort this out before a new job has started. I've come back to our place being chaotic many times as well, and she's still sleeping in bed after I've finished work and still have things I need to do. She is a good person, and hasn't exactly done a whole lot wrong like betrayal or being nasty or abusive, but the immaturity and the lack of drive is getting to me. I feel like I'm supporting the whole relationship, but not receiving much reciprocity. For me, the romantic element has faded and that I'm living with a good but immature friend, but I do not know if this can be changed. I feel horrible as I actually have a very good relationship with all of her family, and I know this would hurt so many relationships and social circles that we've built. If anyone can help with the right way to go about this, please help. We live together and a breakup will be messy. I mean, OP has definitely done a plenty good job highlighting all of the issues here, Has OP actually tried addressing these at all? I mean, obviously the main issue seems to be that she is not a self-starter by any means on anything. Besides the food thing, has OP gone to them and said, look, you need to start driving. You need to start doing some chores. If you don't want to break up with them necessarily, I would say the first step is starting to put some more firm boundaries, some more firm expectations. And if they're not willing to start working on improving themselves, then I kind of think they're giving the answer on what you should do to you. Our next story is I, 26-year-old female, saw that my boyfriend, 27-year-old male, told his ex's brother, I'm not the one. My boyfriend, 27-year-old male, and I, 26-year-old female, have been together and living together for a year and a half. He's close to my ex's brother because they used to live with them. I accidentally saw on his phone that the ex's brother texted him, when is my boyfriend gonna get married, since I'm all over his social media, and he said, not yet, I still have to find her. But he posts me often on social media and our relationship is not a secret. We are very exclusive and know each other's families. He often tells me that I'm part of his future and made plans with me for the long run. I'm confused. Do I confront him about this? If so, how? I mean, maybe they just mean like it hasn't gotten to that point yet? Maybe, I hope when they say I haven't found her yet or I still have yet to find her, that doesn't mean that they think there's no possibility of it happening, it's not there yet. Honestly, I would say the sooner OP addresses this and shares their concern about it, the better. I think it just gets weirder and a lot harder to talk about the longer you let that time go since you saw that text. There's just some awkward compounding factor where like if you wait too long and it's like, so 2 weeks ago I saw a text. You saw it? It concerns you? You want to know how he truly feels? Bring it up, talk about it, don't be afraid. Honestly, if you do uncover something that hurts, it's better to actually know than to just pretend you didn't see it and go on not knowing, right? Our next story is boyfriend is hypercritical, controlling, and just plain mean. Context: my boyfriend and I fought earlier today, and he left the house to do grocery deliveries to earn some cash. Many of our fights are about money. He hasn't worked in over a year besides a few small odd jobs. I pay all the bills. I'm struggling, and while he does help around the house, I'm tired of the financial burden all on me. I feel stupid for putting up with it so long. I've said some hurtful things about it because it feels like he trapped me. He knows I make decent money, and he quit his last job willingly in July of 22. Since then, he's been very picky about what work he'll do or what jobs he'll apply for. This has forced me into supporting him unwillingly because we own a house together, and the bills gotta get paid. PSA, it was a terrible decision to buy a house unmarried. He got home from delivering groceries and said nothing to me at first. Then came in the room while I was doing laundry, said hi to me and I said hi back. He didn't say anything else and left the room. A couple hours later he said to me, I'm going to get food, I hope you already ate, and then claimed I hadn't talked to him since he got home and how rude it was. I told him I did say hi, and he said that I treated him like a stranger and walked right past him. He added that I didn't even notice the flowers that he bought for me on the table, which he didn't even tell me about. I'd been in the other room. Then he left the house. So I texted him and said that I appreciate the flowers, and I did speak to him since he's been home, and I didn't deserve the attitude that he gave me. He replied asking me if I was going to get myself something to eat or just not eat dinner. A few minutes go by, he calls me and asks what I want to eat. I told him that I don't know, and he said that he was going to not eat so that he could buy me food. I told him that I've been sick all day and don't know what I want to eat and that I don't want him to buy me something if it means that he's not going to have dinner. Then he claimed I was being classic, my name, and that I was only deciding not to eat just because he's not eating. I insisted that I really was sick all day because I was. Then he asked me what I wanted again. I said, if you're getting fast food, just get me a burger or something. He exclaimed, this phone call was useless, and he hung up. He then texted me that he was just going to come home with nothing, so I called him back. He forcefully said that he needed to know what I want, and I said I already told him a burger. He said he wasn't going all the way into town. The McDonald's is 12 minutes away, so I asked where he was, and he was at the Food Lion up the street, 5 minutes away. He kept impatiently asking what I wanted to eat and said he's not going to cook for me. Then he asks, would you really think that I would cook for you after the bad day I had? I tell him I never expected him to cook and to just get some ground beef so I can make myself a burger. Then he says I probably didn't even check the house for what else we need, and he's not going to spend a bunch of money on buns, cheese, onions, etc. I said I just need buns and beef. He demanded to know why I didn't tell him that's what I wanted in the first place. I was quiet because I got scared of his tone, the same one he had earlier in the day when he yelled in my face. He said he's not buying anything for someone who's going to ignore him, and I said I'm sorry I didn't reply, but I was scared. He said if I was scared, then he wanted me to stay away from him for the evening and not bring my weird energy around him. I said okay. He said, so I'm going to buy you ingredients for your dinner, then you're going to ignore me all night. Okay. And hung up. If you took the time to read this, thank you. I'm at my wit's end. I had to share this snippet of my reality because it feels so wrong. Does anyone relate to this controlling, toxic behavior or have advice on how to proceed? He's like this all the time, but it's much worse after a fight. We could get counseling, but I don't know if it's even worth it. He's wearing me down, stealing my energy, and eroding who I am as a person. Everyone tells me to leave him, and after 7+ years, I know it is the best thing for me, but I could use some encouragement. Besides owning a house, we have 6 pets that would be split apart in the breakup, 2 dogs who are now BFFs, we each had 1 when we started dating, and 4 cats. Freak, it makes me want to cry just typing this. I wonder every day why he won't be more kind to me. He knows what his nitpicking and controlling behavior does to my psyche, and it's like he's wanting to break me down and sabotage my mind. Ugh, going to go cook myself a burger. So I'm just really failing to see much of a relationship here. I mean, you can float couples therapy. Maybe it's worth giving it the old college try, but I really don't even see any kind of a spark from this guy, at least from what OP described. After 7+ years, they just sound utterly complacent and almost shockingly comfortable in this grumpy, snippy, not even really relationship. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely tricky relationship topic, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.